can't force people to be at peace with us. We can't force people to be at peace with us. But we can be at peace with people. Right? Jesus was filled with peaceful thoughts towards the people that delivered him up and nailed him to a tree. He was filled with peaceful thoughts towards them. So they weren't at peace with him. I mean, they were actually setting themselves up as his enemy. They were warring against him, but he had peaceful thoughts towards them. He didn't return evil for the evil they committed against him. He blessed the people who were cursing him. He prayed for the people who despitefully used him. And so we can find our hearts filled with peace towards people no matter what their reaction is to us. And it's not by our doing, it's by God's doing. It's by God coming and giving birth to it inside of us. That's why he's called Father, because he fathers his life in us. He sees my life is a blessed life. He sees that it's nice not to be filled with hostility towards people. He sees it's a blessed life to be able to feel peace towards people, even should people set themselves up as your enemies. He sees that's a nice life. And so he says, well, my goodness, I'm Father. So that means I possess the ability in myself to come and bring this nice life forth in other people. And so I'm going to do that. As Father, I have a seed in me that can reproduce after my own kind. I have a seed in me that can reproduce my life in other people. And not just a different life, but there's a seed in me that can reproduce the same kind of life that I have in other people. And then they could know what it's like not to be filled with hostility towards others, even should others be acting the wrong way, even should others be setting themselves up as their enemy. And then they could taste and see what it's like to know my life, right? And that's when you start walking with God and you start talking about how nice it is to feel love in your heart for people who want to be your enemies. See, God doesn't come and demand that you love your enemies. He says it feels nice to love people when they're even your enemies. And he wants us to be able to experience it with him because he sees it feels so nice. How many of you feel great when you're hating your enemies? Listen, I've been there, hating my enemies. And listen, like we used to always say, we're from the murder cap of the world and we're rowdy. And so, listen, man, we spend a lot of time beating up our enemies. I mean, when we went to Mardi Gras every year, what we did was we went and found a place where we were going to find some of our enemies and we're going to have like a big 10-on-10 fight. And that's what we thought was nice. And that's what we thought was fun. Listen, it never felt good at the end of the night. It just didn't. We didn't feel any satisfaction after we beat up our enemies. It didn't feel good. It never satisfied. But you know, it's a nice feeling when you can even love people that set themselves up against. And you get to do that. You're not demanded to do that. It's an experience God has given that you could share in with him by his doing, by something he does. So this message, guys, is not about striving to do the right thing. So we don't want to listen to what I say here through the carnal mind. This isn't about the right thing is to not be filled with hostility, and now we're going to grit our teeth and not be hostile. No. That's not what this is about. We're not setting up some kind of metric here where we're going to judge ourselves as righteous or unrighteous by whether or not we get this right, or by whether or not we feel hostility or don't feel hostility. This message is not about how we need to perform the right thing. It's not about how we need to perform something and we got to bring about something. As I said at the beginning, it's about sitting at the feet of Jesus and hearing the faith of God so that his life can be born in us. Okay? His life can be born in us. There's grace for us in the faith of God. There's strength for us in the faith of God. Strength that is unto us feeling at peace with people, even should they not be at peace with us. See, the strength for us to be set free from hostility towards one another is found in the faith of God. God's faith produces that. God's faith is like the seed that will give birth to you being free from hostility. God's faith is like the seed that will give birth to you feeling love in your heart, even for the people that set themselves up as your enemy. So he doesn't come and demand that you do those things. He doesn't come and love you more if you do those things. He doesn't come and judge you as good or bad based on whether you can do those things. He comes to get his seed inside of you so his seed can give birth to those things. And when you see the seed and all the fruit that it brings forth, and you're like, wow, this peace is nice, this love is nice, God looks over and is like, I know, right? That's what I'm talking about. And you're like, man, like God's my boy, right? Like me and God, we boys. God's like Tribe Called Quest, man. I come to get down. Right? He came to get down. And he wants to get down with us. Hallelujah.